Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Physics 121 concept session on vector or cross products. My name is Nathan Martin, and I work for the tutoring centers at ASU. So this problem, we're asked to find the following cross product of the vector 3, -1, 2, and the vector 1, 7, 0. So those are the x, y, and z positions. So a cross product, I'm going to say this is your A vector, this is your B vector. So just kind of the, I guess, notational stuff. So if you have the A vector cross with the B vector, I like to just kind of write it out, so to say. So you have your I component, which is your X component, your J component, which would be your Y component, and then you have the K component, which represents the Z component. So that's A cross B. Let's do A in blue. A. So the A vector, it has the position A1, A2, and A3, right? The B vector has coordinates B1, B2, and B3. So let's just generalize this thing first before we solve our particular problem. So what you do is you multiply diagonally, okay? So I would cover up, so imagine covering up the, take your finger and cover up the column with I. So that would be, let's say it's this green. Okay, so I cover up that. And what's left? Cover up that as well. What's left is this kind of inside matrix, right? Consisting of A2, A3, B2, and B3. So I would cross multiply those two. So what that looks like, I have the A2 times the B3. So B3 is red. And then I'm going to subtract it. I'm going to subtract it by the multiplication of the A3 with B2. So A3 and B2. And this represented the I coordinate, right? Because that was the coordinate we kind of blocked with our finger, right? And then what you do is subtract it from the same kind of idea, except for the J direction. So what you do is cover up the J direction. See, all that's left is the A1, A3, B1, B3. So what's left? You would have A1 times B3. A1 times B3, subtracted from A3 times B1. A3 and B1. So see how this is very, very tedious, right? And then lastly, we want to add the very last component, which is the K component. So the K component, let's get this out of the way. So the K component, we cover up those two, right? Because those are the rows and columns in which K lies in. So what we're left with is A1, A2, B1, and B2. So if we just kind of compute that real quick, that would be A1 times B2 A1 times B2. And then we want to subtract it from the multiplication of A2 and B1. So A2 and B1. So that entire operation is just the cross product. So let's do it on our example. So our example, A cross B, let's write this out. And our A or I, J, K coordinates, right? So the I component for the A vector would be 3, J component is a -1, K component is a 2. And then for the B vector, you have a 1 in the I, a 7 in the J, and a 0 in the K. So let's run through that above kind of red, white, and blue kind of formula, right? So if we cover up the I, you would have a -1 times 0 subtracted from the multiplication of the opposite diagonal, 2 and 7. So that represents the I component. Then we want to subtract off the J component. So cover up the J columns and rows. So you have 3 times 0 minus the other diagonal, 2 times 1. So that's the J component. And then lastly, the K component. So you cover up the K, the rows and columns associated with K, and then you get 3 times 7 minus -1 times 1. And that is the, that's the K component. So if I were to simplify this out a little bit, I find that there's a -14 in the I direction, -14 in the I direction, a +2 in the J direction, +2 in the J direction, and then a +22 in the K direction. So if I threw this back into that kind of chevron notation, I get a -14 for the X, 2 for the Y, 22 for the Z. And that right there is the cross product between those two vectors. A little kind of side note. So the cross product, it results in a vector as our solution, right? So that's why it's called the vector product. So the vector product gives us a vector as our final solution. Awesome. So let's clear all that up. So if you want more information on tutoring, such as our hours of operation, where we're open at, all that good stuff, visit our website at tutoring.asu.edu. And then if you have, if you want to learn more through these kind of concept videos and whatnot, visit this link. So this link will take you to where these videos are located, and then you can click on the next one or something. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.